Hey y'all, welcome in. And if you joined us in the past, welcome back. This is our 31 Days of Prevention series where we come together to share information, inspiration, and motivation to increase awareness and prevent future and ongoing domestic violence. For those of you who are not familiar with me or the work that we do, let me give you a little bit of background. So my name is Marci Batiste. I'm the founder and executive director here at 9 Seconds. We are a progressive nonprofit organization with a heart-centered mission and a non-traditional approach to domestic violence prevention. We go about our work in a variety of different ways. We partner with schools, businesses, community organizations, college campuses across the state to provide them with lunch and learns, workshops, life skills classes, um, keynote addresses, you name it, all to make sure that we can bring women and equip them with the resources and the tools that they need to secure their health, safety, and success. Well, simultaneously, our objective is to change the trajectory of domestic violence here in the state of Arizona. What many people don't know is that every 9 seconds, a woman is abused or assaulted in this country, and that's simply not okay. It's unacceptable, and that is exactly why we're here. I'm also a sister survivor turned champion for domestic violence prevention. So this series is near and dear to my heart, and today we're going to talk about believing and the role that your beliefs play in your ability to remain healthy, stay safe, and be successful. So when I think about the power of beliefs, as we come to know each other a little bit better and you pop in on more of our videos and our trainings, you'll understand, you'll hear me talk about the term generational system, or in some cases, generational systems. And that basically is the system that you're kind of born into. And that is where a lot of our beliefs are formulated. That's foundationally where a lot of it comes from. And not so much in what we're told, but in what we observe. Whole other video on generational systems to come. But just giving you that little tidbit so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from as it relates to the role that beliefs play in our lives. And so if you find yourself trapped in an abusive or unhealthy relationship, and understand this as well, when I talk about, when you hear me say relationships or when you hear me say domestic violence, I'm speaking of relational violence. So it's not always going to be an intimate partner. Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's a frenemy. And if you watched the video yesterday, you know what I'm talking about as far as our friends versus our frenemies. And so it can be any number of come at you from any number of different places. And so when you're in relation with somebody who is toxic to your well-being, dangerous to your health and wellness, then it can be destructive on your belief systems. And so even if you're somebody who came into your adult life with very, very strong convictions and very good, strong self-confidence, and you felt like you could take on the world, and you felt like you knew your place and knew your value, you can run into a brick wall by becoming in relation with somebody who is narcissistic, someone who is abusive, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and that can derail everything that you ever believed about yourself. We call that a bridge. So the bridge is what takes you from where you were to where you're going, right? So that's the gateway, right? You can run into a person like that who disrupts your belief system and causes you to have and be filled with unbelief, or not being able to have any confidence, very low self-esteem. Domestic violence is demoralizing, and it takes everything from you. It strips it away. And so people think about the physical impacts, but those emotional impacts, the uncommon denominators of domestic violence that are very common, but people don't see them, right? So that's what affects our beliefs. And so when you're trying to fix that and you're trying to counterbalance that, you have to do a couple of things. Number one, you've got to consider the source. Where did that belief come from? Is it your belief? Is it something somebody told you about yourself? Is it something that happened when you were at the bridge? Or did you run into this one person and they're like, oh no, you're this or you're that? You know, it's kind of like when you're bullied in school and somebody's constantly telling you you're this or you're that. Then pretty soon, if you hear it enough, you start to believe it, right? Just because you started to believe it, though, doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's true. And so you've got to consider the source. Where did that belief come from? The second thing I always encourage women and clients to do is to challenge the belief. If you believe that something's not possible, 9 out of 10 times, because a lot of times we just think that, oh, that only happens to them, or they come from a different place, or they're not like me, their family situation is different than mine, so that doesn't apply to me. Challenging your beliefs is this. It is going out and making yourself look for the proof to prove your belief wrong. Because what happens is we believe our doubts, and then we doubt our, but we don't believe in ourselves. We're all in on our doubts. We're all in on our doubts. But if we believe something is possible, we start doubting ourselves, right? And so you've got to fix that and correct that by going out and sometimes proving your beliefs to be wrong. So if I tell myself that something's not possible, and I consciously go out and I intentionally look for that very thing. You know, if I think that it's not possible to have this kind of house or drive that kind of car or whatever, I can go out and I can look for those people who are successfully doing those things and having those experiences and living those types of lives to say, you know what? It's possible. It's not happening to me now. That's not my experience in this moment, but it's possible, which means my belief that it's not possible is not true. So we got to toss that belief. And let's fill that belief up with something else. And now this does two things. The challenge does two things. Number one, it forces you to start thinking positively, because now you're looking for the positive. You're no longer looking for the negative. And we find what we seek. Like, we'll fight to make ourselves right. But in this case, we want to fight to prove ourselves wrong. We want to prove that the belief is wrong, because now we've seen that it's possible. And then the third thing is, if all else fails, borrow from somebody else's belief. And that seems crazy and it sounds insane. And I remember the first time it was presented to me, I was like, what the heck does that mean? Give you a perfect example. When I went to write my first book, Journey to Find Your Butterfly Potential, I was working with a mentor, a coach at the time. I still work with the same coach, as a matter of fact. When I committed and he suggested that I write the book, I walked out of the meeting thinking, I said yes, which was a step in the right direction. But guess what? My belief didn't support my yes at all. It didn't support it at all. In fact, it was just the opposite that was happening. I was like, I can't do that. I don't know anything. Like, I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. I don't know how to do that. That's not possible. That's not possible for me. Other people do that. Famous people do that. Rich people do that. A lot of other people do that. Maybe you can do that, but I can't do that. It's not possible for me. That's what my beliefs were. But his belief said, you know your story better than anybody else. You have the ability to articulate your story. You can tell your story. You can write this in a book. You can write the book. You can achieve this goal, and you can be successful at it. And even though I didn't believe it myself, his belief, borrowing just a little bit from his belief, was enough to get me started. And once I got started and the ball started rolling and I started seeing results and I started seeing, oh gosh, maybe I can be successful at this. Maybe I can do this. That's what borrowing belief from somebody else does for you. It's just the thing to get you started. It doesn't correct everything, but once you're able to get the ball rolling in the right direction and be able to see, like, oh, you know what? My belief isn't true. There's your challenge. That's your proof that it is possible, because now you're doing it. You're actually doing it, right? So that's my message for today. I only have one ask of you. If you've watched this video, if you hear something, share something. So if you heard something today that maybe you think might impact or inspire somebody else, share the video out. And also, don't forget to click the subscribe, hit the notification bell, and that way you'll be notified whenever we have new content. At least for the next 31 days, there's going to be something new on here every single day. So make sure you check back. And in the meantime and in between time, y'all have an amazing, amazing week. Remember, everything and anything is possible. Just you have to be able to consider the source, challenge the belief, and if all else fails, borrow the belief of somebody else. Have a good day, y'all.